when an Iranian ex-Hezbollah shows up in Israel, everyone wants to know why I'm here.
You were born in Iran.
Correct.
You were a Hezbollah fighter for 3 years.
Correct. I was on my way to United States to convert Christians into Islam. And I had 30 illegal passports at that time. I was arrested, put in jail in Malaysia. I was a dedicated Muslim. Not only prayed the prayers, but I read the Quran once every 10 days, cover to cover. So I was very dedicated. In my time in jail, one day as I'm praying, a man appears in front of me, normal size, but his being shines like light. And this light was not a normal light. This light carried identity in it. You knew that he is holy and he is just. And instantaneous, I knew I am not. Even though I had prayed so many prayers, even though I had fasted so much, and I had read the Quran, and I had volunteered to walk on landmines, or I had participated in hanging people, trying to please Allah, I knew, even though I have kept all the rules and regulation of Islam, I knew I'm not just, and I'm not holy. And I knew the only just thing for him to do is to kill me. But I didn't want to die, so I ran to the corner of the room, literally held my head in my arms and just cried out, shouting, "Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me." And I didn't think he will forgive me because he is just, till I felt a touch on my left shoulder. And he said, "I forgive you." And I felt a weight just lifted off me. And I knew I'm forgiven, but I don't know how. And I was confused. I was like, okay, I don't understand. Only God can forgive you. Just forgive me. You are God. But you are a different God than the one I have studied about. This is not Allah. So who are you that forgives me and I feel forgiven today? And he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And I thought, that's very powerful. It means a lot, because as a Muslim, you pray, Ihdina sirata mustaqim, show me the straight path, kind of thing. And so the way is a direction, truth is something you measure, life is a source, but he claims to be all those three. I never thought the way is a person. The truth is a person, and life is a person, and all of them is the same person. So I said, I don't understand. What is your name? And he said, Jesus Christ. And someone grabbed all my bones out of my body. I just fell like a piece of meat to the ground, and I just began to weep.
What changed after that?
It's like, you know, being colorblind. And then suddenly you see colors again. And you realize the world is so much more beautiful than you ever thought. If you ask me what made the world so colorless, it's the hatred, the anger that is in the heart of every Muslim. I mean, people say, why did you hate the Jews? I had never met a Jew. But I thought Hitler was a good man for doing what he did. He just didn't finish the job. I don't know why I hated them. No Jew had ever done anything bad to me. God didn't design us to hate. Didn't design us to want to see someone dead. He did not design us for these things. These are design of Satan. How do you think killing the people that God gave them this land to is going to please Allah? The God of heaven, the God of Abraham and Moses, the God of their prophets, like Jesus, is not a God that celebrates when Jews are killed.
In early October, Afshin was visiting Israel with his ministry, which promotes friendship between Persians and Jews. But like millions of others, he found himself in the middle of a war when Hamas launched a bloody attack. When Afshin visited the CBN News Bureau, he met another guest, Sasha Ariev, whose teenage sister had been kidnapped by Hamas. He and his wife wept as they watched her story.
There is absolutely no justification, no explanation that can make any of these okay. Nobody should celebrate when one of the sons of Father Abraham is killing another. And I just want to say, I'm sorry that your family is going through this.
I'm sure that a lot of Muslims around the world, they do not want this to happen.
Off camera, Afshin and his wife prayed for Sasha and invited her to visit them for dinner. Her reply, "I'd be happy to come and bring my sister with me."
We are standing with all the Jewish people, with the people of Israel, and we are mourning their sorrow of their family members that have been lost, but also for the right of Israel to exist.
At the end of our interview, Afshin offered a prayer for those on both sides of the war in Israel.
You love the world, the whole world, all the people of the world so much that you sacrificed Jesus Christ so that we will not perish but have eternal life. I pray today that the revelation of Jesus Christ would go forth amongst the Muslims and the sons of Ishmael. I pray that you would remember that covenant with Ishmael, that you would go forth, because Ishmael is thirsty for the revelation of love, for the revelation of Jesus Christ, for the revelation of salvation. Father, I pray that there would be a hand of protection that would protect Isaac on every front, not only in Israel, but all around the world. Give us visions, dreams, wisdom to speak peace in this war. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray. Amen.
May we all echo that prayer, and may we echo the prayer of Abraham over Ishmael. May Ishmael ever stand before you. May there be dreams, may there be visions, may there be an impartation of his love and forgiveness to a hurting Muslim world. If you're wondering what happened to him can happen to you, here's a wonderful promise. Jesus says, I will manifest myself. He showed up for him. And in that showing up, he showed that he's the Alpha, the Omega, that he dwells outside of time and space. He is the Eternal One. And he has the power to forgive sins. He forgave a member of Hezbollah, transformed him from hatred into love. And he can do that for you. You can have the prophecy of Moses fulfilled over you, that God has become our salvation. God has become your salvation. All you have to do is ask for it. It's a very simple prayer, but when you pray it with all of your heart, God promises that you'll find him. Here's the prayer. Jesus, if you're real, if you really are the Savior, if you can really save me, if you can really forgive me, could you show up? Could you show up for me? Because I need you now. If you pray that with all of your heart, he'll answer. If you need help with that prayer, we're here for you. All you have to do is call us, 1-800-700.
76 in the Hamas-Israel war, and I'm Yair Pinto, reporting to you from the Gaza Strip. A member of the political bureau of Hamas said that Israel is begging Qatar and Egypt to stop the war. Nazal, a senior member of the terrorist organization Hamas, said that Hamas and the Palestinian resistance protect the Arab Islamic nation and not just the Palestinian people. I want to give Mr. Nazal a reality check. You are so off from the truth, because we, the IDF troops, and especially us who fight in the Gaza Strip, are fighting with a high morale and advancing every day towards our goal of defeating Hamas and releasing our hostages and bringing security back to Israel's border. I don't know what reality Hamas seniors live in. In the same movie where they abandoned the residents of the Gaza Strip, I'm talking about the Palestinians, and brought war, fear, and terror upon them, we will bring peace and quiet. Unfortunately, the road is painful and difficult, but with full faith, I know that I represent God with love for life. We will keep our faith, and with it, we will win. The takeover of Hamas's senior quarter in the center of Gaza City has been completed, and the underground government headquarters of the terrorist organization has been exposed in Palestine Square. Fighters from the Israeli Armored Corps and special infantry units revealed an underground command station between the luxury Rimal neighborhood and the Zaytun neighborhood. This is an emergency center for the top of Hamas's leadership. The structure is centered on an underground bunker at a depth of about 50 meters that served as the main headquarters of Hamas. If you can hear explosions in the background, it's because the IDF is engaged in active fighting against Hamas terrorists as we speak. But I will continue. There is a lot of military intelligence information at the place. It is about a headquarters with a system of tunnels that connected to houses and other locations inside Gaza City.
Look inside again. Try to explain what the reason is to build these things here. So deep, so hidden, and so well planned. Again, when our troops arrived here, all the place was booby-trapped. Because our speciality of seeing these things, we saw the threat before, neutralized it, and entered this place, and started studying it. And this is all the things we saw. This is one of tens of sites we found all around this neighborhood.
Step by step, the IDF is advancing towards the destruction of Hamas. And in Khan Yunis, an IDF unit identified terrorists inside the building. An Air Force fighter jet destroyed the building and eliminated the terrorists. Later, the unit identified and destroyed a launcher that contained rockets and was aimed at the territory of Israel, talking about the civilian population of Israel. Despite our offensives, Hamas is still investing resources in order to conduct rocket attacks against the civilians of Israel. In the southern part of Gaza Strip, Hamas terrorists started shooting at the IDF troops. The fighters retaliated and returned fire while discovering a Hamas headquarters inside Khan Yunis. This is the area from where the shooting emerged. During the operation in that location, the IDF uncovered large amounts of ammunition that include explosive charges and about 20 mortars. At the same time, in the heart of Khan Yunis, a battle emerged between the IDF's armored corps unit that was raiding houses of senior members of Hamas terror organization. Hamas tried to repel the forces by force, but the IDF troops were able to flank the terrorists and neutralize them. Inside the headquarters, they uncovered a large underground infrastructure containing water and electricity systems. Yesterday afternoon, Hamas fired long-range missiles towards Israel. The missiles were intercepted over Tel Aviv, which is located in the heart of Israel. The Israeli Air Force was able to identify the origins from which the rockets were fired towards the heart of Israel, and a fighter jet was able to destroy the location from which the missiles were launched. In a night operation in Jabalia, fighters from the Nachal Brigade and another unit in the IDF went on a complicated operation in which they identified a disguised Hamas warehouse. After neutralizing Hamas's terrorists that are guarding the area, the Israeli fighters uncovered a camouflage truck that Hamas was using to launch long-range missiles towards Israel. As part of the raid, the fighters located additional weapons, including weapons. The fighters destroyed the truck and the rockets. A special combat unit identified a group of terrorists who were hiding in a building in the Jabalia area, which is located in the northern part of Gaza. In cooperation with the Israeli Air Force and directed by the unit, an aircraft was able to attack the building and eliminate terrorists within. Suddenly, an anti-tank missile was fired at the IDF troops. A drone that was flying in the airs in the area was able to identify the location of the anti-tank rocket launcher position and neutralize the terrorists on the spot. And in the area of Shati, where Hamas had a huge underground complex underneath a hospital, the Israeli Air Force identified and eliminated a terror cell from the air. Now going back to Israel's other front in Judea and Samaria, the IDF returned to targeted operations in all the villages where Hamas terrorist cells were identified. So far, since the beginning of the war, approximately 2,400 wanted persons have been arrested and brought to questioning in Israeli prisons. The Palestinian terrorists from within Judea and Samaria are associated with the Hamas terror organization. Fighter jets from the Israeli Air Force recently attacked an operational headquarters of the terrorist organization Hezbollah in Lebanon. We're talking about the northern front of Israel. The Israeli Iron Dome identified 4 launches from Syrian territory that crossed into Israeli territory, and IDF forces were able to conduct an operation, target, and neutralize the area from which the rockets were launched. In addition, IDF forces identified a number of terrorists who approached the premier fence from Lebanese territory along the border in the Metula region. The force fired at them, neutralizing most of them. And yesterday, 3 heroes of the Israeli IDF sacrificed their lives for the defense of Israel. The 3 fell in battles in the north of the Gaza Strip, and these are their names. Sergeant Lavi Gihasi, 19 years of age. Lieutenant Yaakov Ilan, 20 years of age. Lieutenant Omri Shoraz, 21 years of age. Guys, this war is really serious, and people are losing their lives every day against evil terrorists in Israel, in the Gaza Strip, in the north against Hezbollah, in Syria. And we are fighting an enemy that does not want peace or to talk or to negotiate. All it seeks is to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. We know that on the 7th of October, this organization proved its intentions by conducting a terrible terror attack against Israeli civilians, kidnapping babies, women, and children. This will not happen again. Me, as part of the IDF, and the rest of my fellow soldiers will do whatever it takes, at whatever cost, to destroy Hamas and to return our hostages. We need your help by sharing these videos like it, telling the truth of what is happening inside Israel. That's one. And secondly, we need you to pray, because I believe that this is a spiritual war between good and evil, and the enemy does not want Israel to exist. Israel, by existing, proves that God is faithful to his promise. to the Israelites. And that is why God will be faithful to his promise to each and every one of us. So join us in pray for the Israeli soldiers that will be safe and come back home to their families, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Thank you.
Praise the Lord. This is Pastor Derek Thomas of Living Witness Ministries, and I want to invite you to our new Saturday Night Live worship service, Saturday evenings at 5:30 p.m. at Hope City Church, 2240 North National Avenue. The Lord is moving mightily by his Spirit in these days, and we want you to be a part of the movement God has on the South Side. God is moving to win souls. He's moving to save people. He's moving to heal, deliver, and set free. You don't want to miss out on the movement. Don't meet us there, beat us there Saturday nights, 5:30 p.m. for Saturday Night Live, our LWM worship service in Milwaukee at Hope City Church, 2240 North National Avenue. Look forward to seeing you there. God bless.
You have been through quite a bit over the past month, and I appreciate you joining us today. I wanted to start with the beginning of the story. On November 15th last month, your husband was shot, and this is a story that has been in headlines across the country, across the world. Can you take us through what happened that day?
So my husband was street preaching. I mean, he's been doing that for over a year. And usually he street preaches for 30 minutes before every evening service for our church. And I remember that day, like, he just ended street preaching early, and I thought that was odd. I was like, maybe he's just not feeling it tonight or something. And then, yeah, like, I didn't even know what had happened. I just saw him, like, I heard him loading up the sound system back in the car. He gets in the car, drives the car to the church. And at this point, I had seen that, he was bleeding. And I'm like, are you okay? I thought someone maybe just threw a bottle at him. I had no idea what really had happened. He drives our vehicle to the church, unloads the sound system. He's about to get our daughter down. And I'm like, no, like, you can't. Like, you're all bloody. We need to go home and get you cleaned up. And luckily, my brother showed up at that point. He's like, no, we need to get you to the hospital. So my brother ends up driving him to the hospital. And on the way to the hospital is when he kind of started throwing up and stuff. And as soon as we got there to the emergency room, he started seizing. And like, even the doctors and the medical staff didn't even know that that this was a gunshot wound. They thought that maybe
none of you knew.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's so crazy that you were with him. He's driving. I mean, you had no idea. You assumed it was an assault. That was the initial.
Yeah.
But at that point, once you got to the hospital, then they realized that something more was going on.
Yeah, they didn't even, until they did a CT scan afterwards, then they realized, oh, there's a bullet in him and stuff. So, yeah, then that was pretty much it. That was the whole situation, and it's just kind of a waiting game, and they've done.
What was your reaction to hearing that, Zulia? What was to hearing that there was a bullet? Because that's a very different situation than what you thought had happened.
Yeah. Oh, my heart sank. Like, yeah. From, okay, yeah, maybe he needs some stitches too. Oh gosh, like, this is way worse than I had even, assumed it was. And it was, I just felt sick to my stomach once I realized it was a gunshot wound. And I remember, like, even when we got to the urgent care, like, he was like non-responsive. So it was hard.
And you have two young children, and here you are in a situation. What were the doctors telling you as far as once they realized what was happening and they're treating him? What were they saying in terms of his chances and what was going to potentially happen in those days?
Everyone that talks to me just said it's devastating. It's devastating. That's the one word I remember from the night. Every doctor, every nurse just said it's devastating. It's devastating. And I'm just like, I felt so sick. It's like, that's the last thing you want to hear, like, you start questioning, like, how, like, what was the last thing I told them, or like, yeah, or why wasn't I paying attention? You start questioning everything. And yeah, and I mean, even I remember like even the neurosurgeons, they said they're like, we're waiting for neurosurgeons to come talk to you and stuff, and they're like, yeah, it's devastating. No one wanted to touch it. They were like, yeah, no one's gonna touch it. No neurosurgeons. Yeah, it's just not operable. And then even just hearing the detectives say like, we'll know more after the autopsy. It's like, what? Like, it felt like it was
You
just
heard that
blow
the
after blow.
detectives. Oh my gosh! Wow. How did you? Because you've posted on social media. You know, you had a message on Thanksgiving that was really inspirational and very powerful. How did you keep the faith? How have you kept the faith in these weeks with having 2 young children going through all of this chaos? How have you been able to do that, to keep your faith?
Honestly, I'm like shocked, you know, like how. Oh, I honestly think it's people's prayers, you know, like that's the only way I can explain it, because there's been moments where I'm like, how am I this okay? You know, like you even feel guilty for not crying. It's like, because I've seen it, and it's like, it's so, you know, like in the beginning, like just seeing him like connected to everything, where it's almost like he doesn't even look like himself. It's like, yeah, you start questioning everything, but it's like, I know it's people's prayers, and I know God has a plan in all of this, because there's no other way to explain it. Like how, the ugliness that I would see, and just the peace that I had. I remember just like when he was in the ICU, like I say, everything's gonna be all right. Like, how do you say that when everything does not look all right? So, yeah.
When you're hearing police officers say, we'll know after the autopsy, I mean, that instills such a hopelessness in people. And yet there you were being hopeful, asking people for prayers. And I love that you're crediting the prayer for what has happened. I want you to share what you're comfortable sharing, but where are we now? We're a little more than a month out from this shooting, and he was in ICU with very little hope. Where is he right now? How is he faring right now?
So right now he's made a lot of progress, you know, I mean, but in the days of progress, there's still frustration. There's still difficult days. Yes, we're grateful, but it doesn't mean, you know, the days aren't hard. You know, I'm like, just see your loved one in that situation. It's not easy, especially when, you know, he was the main provider for our household, and he would go to work, and now it's like you see your person, it's like a whole reset. They have to relearn everything. And the brain is such a sensitive thing that we don't know still, you know, like what's going to happen, what tomorrow's going to look like, what a year from now is going to look like. I mean, we're hopeful and we're praying and we're contending for like a supernatural recovery, but there's just so much unknown still, so much uncertainty. But it's like every day we've been able to witness a miracle, from that first night where they're like, you're going to start seeing blood just come out through like the holes, like his ears and stuff, to it's like he made it past day 1, and now here we are a little over a month, and it's like the progress he has made, it's just amazing. I mean, now he understands a bit more like the situation, but we still don't know 100% how much he understands, because he's unable to communicate at the moment, you know. So but
he is awake and he is making progress right now.
Yes.
That is incredible. And it's something, you're giving us prayer points here, because I was going to ask you how to pray, but I think what you're describing, you're telling us what we can be praying for. And anybody listening or watching this, you know, praying for you, praying for your children, praying for him. And as far as finding the person who did this, do the police have any leads on that?
Honestly, I don't even think so. I don't know at this point. In a way, like, I don't even care. I don't have the energy to really worry about that. Yes, I wish that person wasn't on the street. That would bring me some comfort and peace. But at the same time, it's like the harm has already been done. You know, like.
Well, and I want to thank you for your faith and the way that you have handled yourself, and you know, it's inspiring people and it's speaking to people and it's showing people what faith. You were saying before, I can't even believe, you know, that I've been able to be this calm and be this peaceful. And I think that's evidence of faith that people are seeing in you and in your family. And I just appreciate you. I know it's crazy right now, sharing with us so that people know how to be praying for you and your family. Zulia, really appreciate your
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Brody Carter. We begin this half hour with Israel saying it has secured a vast Hamas tunnel network inside Gaza. And as CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl reports, other Iranian proxies are stepping up their attacks on Israel and throughout the region.
The tunnel runs under what's called the elite quarter of Gaza City, including Palestine Square.
You can see behind me the community college. You can see there the Alpha Luna Society for Deaf Children. You can see government buildings. You can see civilian buildings. From outside, everything looks normal. Everything looks like a regular city.
The square is the center of the strategic tunnel network, housing Hamas leadership's strongholds. It connects to the underground infrastructure near the Rantisi Hospital and the Shifa Hospital uncovered earlier. The tunnel shafts are located in residences and offices of senior officials, allowing for covert descent, enabling Hamas operatives to escape and remain in hideouts for a long time.
There's an electricity box here. This opens. This was closed. This is actually a door, not the back of a box, which reaches a space that leads to the tunnel shaft below.
President Biden says the U.S. is still trying to restart negotiations for a ceasefire that includes a hostage release and humanitarian aid to Gaza.
We're pushing it. There's no expectation at this point, but we are pushing it.
A top Hamas leader arrived in Egypt for talks, but the terror group says there will be no hostage negotiations without a ceasefire. Meanwhile, in the north, Israel struck Hezbollah infrastructure after the Iranian-backed group fired a rocket barrage that hit the city of Kiryat Shmona overnight, causing damage but no injuries. IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi told reservists that Israel will not return to the previous situation along the northern border.
This means to push further, to reinforce this, and to bring the residents back here, to Netua, and along the entire border line, to a different situation that is much more secure.
While another Iranian proxy, the Houthi rebels in Yemen, are threatening to target American warships after the U.S. announced an international force in the region to protect global shipping from Houthi attacks. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Meanwhile, anti-Israel bias continues to rage, especially among many in the Western media. Dale Hurd reports on how the information war is giving Hamas an edge in the crucial war for public opinion.
Israel's version of Saturday Night Live lampoons the BBC for what some say has been one-sided coverage of the war with Hamas.
Israel has bombed a hospital, killing hundreds of innocent people. More. Much better.
Good evening, Rachel, from the illegal colony of Tel Aviv.
Funny, perhaps, and yet in the real world, widespread anti-Israel news coverage is shaping world opinion and government policies. The war between Israel and Hamas is raging not only within Gaza, but also in newsrooms. And it's a media war many would say Hamas is winning. Some major news organizations have been treating the only democracy in the Middle East as equal to or worse than Hamas, an internationally designated terrorist group that massacred innocent Israelis. And some have gotten into trouble by accepting as fact information put out by Hamas. Gil Hoffman is executive director of Honest Reporting, a pro-Israel media watchdog.
There's never been a war where the incorrect coverage has been so obvious, where the media has had to apologize over and over again, admit mistakes. and have lost their credibility so much.
After the Hamas atrocities committed on October 7th, news stories repeatedly referred to the terrorist group as gunmen or militants rather than terrorists.
Hamas is now saying on their official Telegram channel that
major news organizations were quick to report claims made by Hamas that Israel had bombed the Al-Ali Baptist Hospital, allegedly causing 500 civilian casualties. It was later found the damage came from an Islamic Jihad rocket and the casualties numbered in the dozens. The BBC has been one of the main culprits. It had to apologize for this claim about Israeli forces inside Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza.
They are targeting people, including medical teams as well as Arab speakers.
The BBC later called it a misquote.
This was incorrect and misquoted a Reuters report.
This past summer, the BBC was forced to apologize when an interviewer said this to former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett.
The Israeli forces are happy to kill children.
The BBC was also forced to remove several Middle East reporters from the air after they posted on social media their support for the atrocities committed on October 7th. Dr. Tricia Miller with Camera, the Committee for Accuracy in Middle East Reporting, says the anti-Israel bias in some of the media coverage meets the definition of anti-Semitism.
Israel is consistently held to a different standard, a double standard. And the only way you can explain that is anti-Semitism.
In response to the criticism, BBC CEO Deborah Turness wrote, "We have faced criticism and complaints that we are biased both for and against Israel, and for and against the Palestinians. And while we strive to hold true to our 100-year commitment to impartiality, we of course sometimes get it wrong. We will continue to do what we have always done, to work without fear or favor and report what we see." However, news coverage doesn't occur in a vacuum, and biased coverage against Israel has had an effect. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
One of the largest Jewish firms in New York City is asking American leaders to stand with Israel. Although many people haven't heard of them, the Orthodox Union has considerable clout worldwide. I met with the executive vice president as the divide deepens. Nestled in the financial district of Lower Manhattan is the world's largest organization serving Orthodox Jews. If you've ever eaten a Nathan's hot dog or indulged in Hershey's chocolate, you've eaten food certified by the Orthodox Union's Kosher Service, which approves over 1 million products and 70% of America's food labeled as kosher. The organization also supports synagogues, advocates for the disabled, and leads the Jewish Learning Initiative, a college program to engage Jewish students and elevate religious experience. Free Palestine! As anti-Israel activists call on the United States to abandon Israel, the Orthodox Union is taking on a new effort, protecting its people.
Rather than providing them with a home on campus, they're providing them with a fortress, a place where they can feel safe and protected from the all too frequent hostility that they experience.
Amid the fallout from October 7th and ensuing war, Rabbi Moshe Hauer has become a leading voice for the Orthodox Jews, from national television to Capitol Hill supporting Jewish college students.
Once upon a time, Jews were not admitted to these campuses. Today, we've come a long way. Jews are admitted to every campus. But today, unlike a short time ago, that admission introduces them to an environment where they experience fear and hostility.
12 of our family members have been affected by the attacks on October 7th. 3 were murdered, 9 were taken hostage.
Most recently, the Orthodox Union and Rabbi Hauer hosted family members of released hostages, highlighting and sharing the pain felt throughout the worldwide Jewish community until each hostage comes home.
Any Jew, any serious Jew, is deeply aware of their history. What we recite every Passover at the Seder, that in each and every generation they stand up against us to destroy us.
Rabbi Hauer says Jews and others saw America as the exception, a land where every identity should feel safe. Now, in a time when hate can feel stronger than hope, the rabbi pulls strength from his faith.
We came to the world in order to be able to bring light. So we're not going to run away from darkness. We can't run away from darkness. We have to double down. We have to know and be confident that ultimately the light will shine.
Well, on the southern border, historic apprehensions as surges of migrants keep coming. This is Texas Governor Greg Abbott faces growing pushback for his new law allowing police to arrest people they suspect are crossing illegally. Wendy Griffith has more on the battle at the border.
Record numbers of migrants are crossing the southern border this week. On Monday alone, the Border Patrol encountered more than 12,000 people, and they keep coming. Hundreds were seen huddling in Eagle Pass, some wrapped in blankets as they awaited processing.
We're going the absolute wrong direction.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott going on offense. He sent more than 100 migrants by plane to Chicago after the city council targeted his busing mission. The governor also signed a new law empowering local and state police to arrest migrants suspected of crossing into the state illegally, as well as letting judges send some back to Mexico. The White House doesn't like it.
This is not who we are as a country. This is not who we should be as a country.
Reverend Samuel Rodriguez of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference disagrees. He says the White House could and should stop the flow of migrants from Mexico immediately.
President Biden, before a teleprompter and a camera, announcing to the world, do not come to America illegally. You will not be accepted. That line right there will stop the flow in the southern border.
El Paso County and the ACLU are suing Texas, claiming the federal government has exclusive power over immigration. They also claim the new law will overburden jails and deny migrants the chance to request asylum.
We need to surge immigration judges to the border. This is America. People need to get their cases heard in days, not years. And if they do not qualify for asylum, they need to be deported.
Meanwhile, federal officials temporarily closed several border entry points, including some railway crossings. One freight company says that's costing as much as $200 million a day. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Coming up on CBN Newswatch, sacred ground is where Israeli soldiers lost their lives in their own communities. We'll take a closer look after the break. Welcome back to CBN Newswatch. In the wake of the October 7th tragedy, people are honoring the victims and showing solidarity with Israel by visiting communities impacted by the violence. Michelle Bachmann, former congresswoman and now dean of Regent University's School of Government, recently turned to Kibbutz Be'eri. Paul Strand reports how, for her, it was personal.
As Hamas invaded Kibbutz Be'eri, Lotan Pinion watched the attack unfold as he visited the kibbutz website and WhatsApp group that October 7th morning.
People started to write, there are terrorists inside the kibbutz. And you start to see on the kibbutz map that they here. They are spread all over the kibbutz.
A short time after, Pinion learned terrorists slaughtered his mother and father-in-law, and then he would see death and destruction all over their neighborhood.
We have 90 murders. 289 houses are either burned or severely damaged.
All of this weighed on former Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann because she lived here in 1974.
I came here the day after I graduated from high school. I'd never been to Israel. It was my first time to come to Israel. And I lived and worked here at Kibbutz Be'eri.
I remember it. It was a happy home where 1,200 people lived. And people wouldn't believe this. There's whole roofs are missing, and RPGs were fired through the sides of houses, and no one could ever live in these homes again. They're completely totaled. And so they all have to come down. It'll all have to be destroyed.
On this tour of Be'eri, she also learned that people she knew were among those raped and murdered.
Horrible. I just was devastated. It's incredible to think that human beings would come and do this kind of damage just to get to Jews. The hatred for Jews is so visceral, they would even burn a house down so they could watch a Jew jump out of a window so that they could shoot them. And the horror is that about 80% of the people who were killed here were tortured. So this is as devastating as it gets.
My children used to play and visit here each day.
These are people's homes. This isn't supposed to be a battlefield. This is where little children rode bikes and went to see their grandparents.
All of this neighborhood was full of children that was playing football at the afternoon because all the grandmothers and grandfathers used to live in this neighborhood. No one left. Only 3 people.
It's the bodies, it's the people, the life that's gone, and that's irreplaceable.
All of our kids have friends that either killed or kidnapped.
Bachman believes there should be no mercy for murderers who did this and who promised to continue the slaughter until there are no more Jews here and all of Israel becomes Palestine.
Well, this is Israel's land, and Israel has every right to the land, biblically, morally, legally, from international law. 100%, this is Israel's land. There's no question. It's not even a doubt. And so this fantasy that different terror groups have, that they're going to kill Jews, because for them it really isn't about land. It's about killing Jews. And so the Jewish people can no longer be expected to wonder if tomorrow is another Holocaust, because that's what this is. You're looking at the Holocaust in our day, and we said never again, and it happened again. And so the only answer is that Israel doesn't have to be the people who suffer from these terrorist acts. If any people group, they should not be the ones forced to live next to the people of Gaza. There are 56 other Arab nations out there who could take in the Gazans. Not one will take them. Why should Israel, the focus of their hatred, be forced to live side by side? It needs to end.
Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Kibbutz Be'eri.
Still ahead, a first look at the new inspiring film based off the true story of the 1936 University of Washington's rowing team. Stay with us.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Nepali Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Welcome back to CBN Newswatch. The Boys in the Boat is an upcoming film based on the true story of the University of Washington's rowing team who went from rags to Olympic gold at the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. Ephraim Graham sat down with the film's director, George Clooney, and the cast.
Stay with him until he finishes the first line, and when Joel starts to talk, then you can make the move.
It's a boat full of underdogs representing an underdog nation.
In 3, 2, 1, roll!
George, what is it about this story that drew you into it?
I loved it. Of course, there's the underdog story and everything else. I love the era of the
Great Depression. It was a pretty fascinating time. I've always liked that sort of image. I think that it expresses sort of the best of us in mankind, which is how we find a way to take care of one another.
Where do you think these young men's drive comes from?
Necessity, right? That's the great motivator.
Well, what's that about making some money?
Yeah, the rowing team. You're on, you get a part-time job included, cheap place to live. All you gotta do is make the team.
They rowed, they were lumberjacks. They rowed to eat, literally, to get food and to pay for school. So they went to study engineering and things like that. And they all went on to do sort of remarkable things.
I have to say, watching this, especially the scenes with them rowing, I felt like it was poetry in motion, if you will. What was the drive and how important was it to get rowing right?
That was the hardest part. When you cast really good actors, and the script works, I'm not worried about getting that right. I'm worried about the technical parts of making rowing as exciting as it is. Rowing is actually a really exciting sport, but you know, it's a little like F1. If you're not in close and feel it, it doesn't feel fast, and it doesn't have that same intensity.
How important was unity, Joel, as a theme in this film, if you will?
Look, it's incredibly, it's more potent in fact in rowing than in most other sports you can think of. Like synchronized swimming is another, like where a whole unit of individuals are all moving as one, essentially becoming one. And that really was helped by the training process of these guys. I think they did a remarkable job of getting where they needed to get to. And in the process of doing that, forged these relationships that then spill onto the screen in a really wonderful way. I was very impressed by what they did.
The average human body is just not meant for such things. Most of you will not be chosen.
What's your relationship, Callum, with rowing before this story?
I didn't have one.
No.
I'd heard about it. I'd seen some guys do it on the River Thames in London. But these guys, you know, George and Grant, they set us up to succeed.
The Depression hit everyone hard. No jobs, no food. We were broke.
You play Joe Rance. Describe his struggles for me.
You know, Joe is the ultimate underdog story. This is someone that has just put the walls up, you know, and doesn't let anyone in until he rekindles with Joyce, and she teaches him how to trust again. And that allows him to you know, feel like he's part of this team too.
You're announcing the team today. Are you going to make it?
As you mentioned, this is an underdog story, a sports story, and also a love story. Hadley, how would you describe the relationship between these two characters?
Oh man, I love the relationship. I think it's kind of one to look up to in a lot of ways. In real life, they stayed together until death parted them. It's a really beautiful love story built on trust, which I think is a huge theme in this movie.
Hadley, I've heard you say that they don't make movies like this. What makes you say that anymore?
Man, it really leans into the beauty of humanity and really beautiful qualities and values that some people possess, and then to lean into it, and it gives you this feeling that it feels so good. I don't know why you don't see it much anymore.
We see what we're made of and see that we're actually on each other's sides. This film reminds us that we're all in this together.
As one! As one!
Well, The Boys in the Boat will premiere in theaters on Christmas Day, and my producer says it is an excellent film. Looking forward to that. Well, coming up, we do take you to a Christmas winter wonderland decked out with special ornaments and Christmas trees. Stay tuned with us. You're watching CBN Newswatch. Well, a home in Troy, Michigan has been rocking around the Christmas tree all year round. It's the home of Lisa Hicks, who not only puts her decorations up for Christmas, but meticulously plans and arranges 19 trees and these elaborate displays on your screen during the off-season. She says it takes a good year to get the halls decked for these festivities, but Hicks also likes to spread good cheer. This year, she's donating presents to moms staying at a local shelter. What a wonderful way to give back this Christmas holiday season. That's going to do it for us on this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our programming on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, we want to know what you think about the stories that you've seen. Do so, tell us by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.
Okay, we are live. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Chuck Holton here. I am in, well, am I live or not? If you can hear me, please tell me where you're watching from. That'd be helpful. I believe I got one comment there, so I'm not sure I'm live or not. Hello. There we go. Okay. All right. I see a couple of Finland. Wow. West Virginia is the first one, though. That's great. Okay. Well, I have been rushing around all day today because I just got back from the VA. That's always a fun day. Get to go get my blood pressure checked and poked and prodded and everything. Make sure that I'm still alive. Apparently I am. So here I am on our live broadcast. Can hear. Can you hear? Somebody says they can't hear, but everybody else says they can. Okay, so I think we're good. Brazil, wow, Norway, holy smokes. Coming in from all over the planet to watch our live here on CBN today, so thank you very much for that. Glad you all are here. Let's talk about what's going on in Israel. And we're going to keep this kind of short today because it's late. And like I said, I've been running around all day. You know, it's always exciting when you go to your doctor's appointment at the VA and the guy walks in and the very first thing he says is, "You want to kill yourself?" It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, what kind of doctor's appointment is this? But I'm grateful for it at any rate. So there's a lot going on in Israel as usual. We had yesterday, the very first day since the ceasefire, where there was no appreciable rocket fire out of Gaza. There was some rocket fire from the north, and I think even from Syria, and Israel was certainly taking it to Hezbollah in the north. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But there was not really a whole lot out of Gaza. And that kind of shows that Israel is doing what they need to do to reduce the threat in Gaza. They have completed the takeover of the Jabalia, what they call refugee camp. And I always put that in scare quotes because it's not actually a refugee camp. It's a neighborhood. It's just a very densely populated neighborhood. Well, it's like a bunch of poor folks live there. It's kind of the slums of Gaza City. And it was a very hard fight for them to take it over. The IDF says that they killed 1,000 Hamas fighters in that battle. over the course of just a few days. And so I'd say the IDF probably lost 8 or 10 guys in that battle over the last several days. And so that would be 100 to 1. And those are pretty good numbers. You find, though, that in any conflict, it's typically the more civilized country that has the lower death toll because they care more about human life and even the human lives of their own fighters. So in Russia, between Russia and Ukraine, you want to know who cares more about human life? Well, look at the death toll. The Russians are just, they're losing sometimes up to 800 or more men a day, dead, killed in combat. The Ukrainians, they probably are losing 200 to 300 a day at the current rate, from what I can ascertain from my contacts in there. It's bad. It was bad when they were losing 100 a day. Now they're losing maybe 300 a day. But Russia is just dumping bodies into Ukraine. And so you can tell Russia does not care as much about human life as Ukraine does. And you certainly can tell that Israel cares more about human life than Hamas does, as if you needed any more convincing. Because all you have to do is look at October 7th and you could ascertain that, right? Go back before October 7th and there were lots and lots of people coming from Gaza into Israel to be treated at Israeli hospitals for free. There were nobody going into Gaza to be treated at a Gaza hospital. The likelihood of a fighter, a Hamas fighter, surviving in northern Gaza right now is very low, very low. And so they have cleared out a lot of it. Now, I want you to be able to see the combat from both sides, though. So if you go and look at my webpage, I've been putting this stuff over on my webpage at chuckholton.com. That'll take you to locals and you can see some of the videos that I'm talking about. What you'll notice is that Hamas is putting out combat videos that are shot with GoPro cameras, things like that, by the fighters themselves. And what you'll see is them sneaking around in buildings where they can see the IDF out there in the street moving around. And they always put really cool sound effects and graphics on it that make go, whoa, and like point at the IDF tank or whatever it is they're aiming at. And then you'll see them fire their weapon, whatever that is, a rifle or a rocket launcher, at the IDF troops. But then what you'll notice, if you go watch those videos, is that you never see the aftermath. You don't see destroyed IDF tanks. You very, very rarely would see a IDF soldier who is hit. And I think we can surmise from watching those videos, at least I do when I watch those videos, that they're not really having the effect they want you to think they're having. If they were blowing up lots of tanks and actually taking out tanks, you would see videos of that. You would see videos of tanks being carted off. There was one video I've seen so far in the entire war of an Israeli tank being dragged away. It was filmed, it was actually put out by Hamas, and the tank wasn't destroyed, it was just had a track blown off of it. And so it was being towed away. But they don't show the battle damage afterwards. They just show the explosion of the RPG against the tank, perhaps. But keep in mind two things. Number one, the Merkava tanks are designed to survive RPG attacks. Their armor is like, this thick. And an RPG hits the side of that thing, it's going to put a dent in it, but it's not going to take it out. And the other thing is that they have this active protection system called the trophy system, which I've seen up close and personal. It's a box about this big that sits on both sides of the tank, and it's got a cover over it. But when it has a radar system, and when it detects an incoming missile, which it can do in a fraction of a second, it fires essentially a gigantic shotgun shell that fires at the incoming missile and causes the missile to explode before it actually hits the tank. So many times in the video that you watch that's put out by Hamas, when you see an explosion after they fire their rocket launcher at a Israeli tank, what you're actually seeing is not the RPG detonating against the side of the tank. You're seeing the trophy system detonate and take out the missile in a ball of flame. And it would be very, very hard to tell the difference if you didn't know what you were looking at. And Hamas is counting on that. They're counting on you not knowing the difference. And that's why we're having this conversation. So you can see some of these videos that I'm talking about right now on my website. Go to chuckholton.com and you can watch them over there. You can also see videos of what we're going to talk about next, and that's the Houthis. So it's called Operation Prosperity. Prosperity something. Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary, went to Israel and met with the Israelis, and then met with the U.S. Navy on a ship over the last few days. And what do they call it? Like Prosperity Gambit or something like that? Operation, let's see. You guys can probably find it faster than I can. Guardian. Operation Prosperity Guardian. We're guarding prosperity. Why? Because the Houthis have essentially shut down shipping through the Red Sea, which means the Suez Canal. And if a ship can't go through the Suez Canal, it's got to go all the way around the Horn of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope down there, and it's going to add about 40% to the cost of that ship full of goods. Right now, what that is mostly affecting is energy, is oil that's going to Europe. And of course, Europe's not very happy about that. So France and Spain and Great Britain and a whole bunch of European countries have all sent ships down there. And they've got a big armada of ships that's now encircling Yemen, all the way from the Indian Ocean down around to the Gulf of Aden. And they are basically there to protect the shipping that's going through there. But the ships have said, all the commercial shipping companies have said, we're not going to go through there anyway. And it's not because they don't think that that armada can protect them. It's because they will lose their insurance if they do. Peter Zion did a good video about this, talking about the economics of this when it comes to international maritime shipping. That these guys have insurance policies on their ships, and if they go through there, they lose their insurance policy. So they're not going to go through there. So either the ships right now, the commercial shipping is either parked out in the ocean waiting for some resolution to this problem, or they are going ahead and going around the Cape of Good Hope. And doing that, again, adds quite a bit of cost and quite a bit of time to these shipping routes. That's not a good thing. So it remains to be seen what the United States and Israel and Germany and Spain and France and everybody are going to do about the threat from the Houthis. The Houthis, for their part, have been bowing up to the U.S. military and to all the military ships offshore, like, yeah, you want a piece of me? Come on, let's go. And they're actually mobilizing tens of thousands of men well, I don't know what they're planning to do. Are they going to swim out to the ships and go fight them? Are you going to take on a U.S. Navy destroyer? That would be a very short and interesting battle. The Houthis have glorified speedboats and about 4 MiG fighters. I think they have 12. I don't know, but they don't have anything that could actually really threaten a U.S. ship. They have drones, they have missiles. We can shoot those down all day long. We can play that game as long as they want to play it. But I think the idea here, if it is actually to guard prosperity, they're going to have to actually take kinetic action against Yemen. And this could get interesting. Mostly because I'm not sure what they'll shoot at. Yemen is like, it'd be like going to the city dump and saying, we're going to destroy anything of value in there. There's nothing of value in there. I mean, I guess we can, focus on trying to take out their, missile silo or missile sites and stuff like that. But in reality, Yemen is a gigantic desert. It's a big dirt parking lot with a bunch of really, really poor people in it. And they've already had decades of absolutely terrible luck when it came to their economy and everything else. This is what happens, by the way. They could be Dubai, but instead they are Yemen, because this is what happens when you focus all your energy on who you hate rather than who you love. Think about that. The Palestinians have received so much aid, more than $2 billion every year, for the living memory. For every year in living memory. And what have they done with it? They focused all of that on who they hate, the Israelis, rather than focusing it on who they love. And because of that, they have nothing to show for it. And by the time the IDF is done with them, they're going to have a whole lot more than nothing to show for it, or less than nothing, I guess. The Houthis are the same way. Their very banner, their flag, is not a pretty picture or some nice colors or anything like that. It is the words "Death to Israel, death to America, God is great." I mean, it's just like it's a statement of all the people they hate. That's not a good way to ensure prosperity for your country. I don't know. I mean, these people are such zealots that I don't know that they really care about that, but that's just the truth. In Syria, of course, Iran has been pushing not only the Yemenis, but the rebels I'm talking about the Hashishabi, the Iranian-backed rebel groups inside Iraq, inside Syria, and of course, Hezbollah in Lebanon. They've been funding and supporting and pushing those guys to be their proxies and attack Israel for a long time. And they've really wanted to build this Iranian crescent that goes from Tehran all the way into Lebanon across Syria. And if they could control that strip of land, this little land bridge, then they could move lots and lots of materiel through Syria into Lebanon so that the Hezbollah guys could continue their fight against Israel. But Israel's not having that. When I was in Israel 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that, I was reporting on the Israelis striking inside Syria. What were they striking at? Exactly what they're striking at now. Attempts by Iran to push weapons across into Lebanon. And that has been going on for probably more than a decade. And Israel has been taking them out for more than a decade. Israel has no problem whatsoever with taking out those airfields, convoys, whatever it is that's trying to transport weapons into Lebanon. Now, they already took out the airports, almost every airport in Syria at this point, or at least in Syria that's controlled by the Syrian army. Not so much in the Kurdish-controlled eastern third of Syria, which is known as Rojava. But in the western two-thirds of Syria, they've wiped out just about every airfield there is. And Syria has been trying to fix those. So they've been, patching them over, right? And they've gotten them about the time they get them fixed up and so that they can take aircraft traffic again. Israel just flies in there and puts another few craters in their runway. It doesn't, it has the ability, Syria has Russian SAMs, surface-to-air missiles, all around, like SA-300, SA-400, all the way around their airport in Damascus. And yet, Israel can fly in there at will and drop bombs on that airport. You ever wonder why? Well, it's because Israel has F-35s. F-35 strike fighters are essentially invisible to that kind of radar system. And it says a lot about, it tells us a lot, if we wanted to know, about what would happen if the United States ever became militarily engaged directly with Russia. Because this is some of the best Russia has to offer in terms of air defense. And our F-35 just sails right through it like nothing. So you can bet that the United States is watching all of this and taking notes, without a doubt. They are watching and taking notes. But Israel is definitely committed to making sure that the Iranians are not able to get weapons into Lebanon through Syria. And, Syria can't do a darn thing about it. They really can't. They don't have an expeditionary military that would be able to, maybe come down and invade Israel. They have precious little in the way of missiles and rockets that can make it that far. They've been fighting a bloody civil war for more than 10 years. They've lost a third of their country, more or less, to both Turkey and the Kurds. Either Turkey or the Kurds, I guess is the right way to say that. And other than getting a little help from Russia, the Syrians are just kind of having to sit on their hands in this one. Israel, as I reported when I did my live over on the Hot Zone, you can follow my reporting also over on the Hot Zone, my YouTube channel. Please go over there and subscribe. It would certainly help me if you would do so. And while you're at it, like this video right down below here. If you hit that like button, it makes the pipe cleaner necks at YouTube go, oh, somebody likes this video. And then they show it to more people. To people that don't subscribe, that may not have ever known about CBN before these lives started. As a matter of fact, if you're watching right now and you found CBN because of these live broadcasts that I'm doing, would you put, just write me in the comment down there? Because I would be very interested to know. I'm showing 880 concurrent viewers at the moment. I'd be very interested to know how many of the 880 people watching actually found CBN because of these broadcasts. And that's great, because I want to show that to my boss at CBN and say, aha, look, these things they're effective. But what that shows is that if you can go and hit the like button and subscribe down there and even leave a comment, that makes YouTube, the algorithm, show it to more people that would never have found us otherwise. And that's really, really good for CBN. And so it gets the word out, right? Look at that, folks. Look how many people have found us because of these broadcasts. That's really awesome. And Connie says she found CBN because of my podcast. Well, okay, that counts as well. It goes both directions. So anyway, I appreciate that very much. And so the question is, what is going to happen in Yemen? They're calling up, they're mobilizing, drafting tens of thousands of fighters. But as far as I know, nobody's planning on invading Yemen. There's nothing to invade. It's just dirt. So what are they going to do? They're going to call these guys up and give them all weapons. They're going to run around the desert and get dehydrated and then go back home, I guess. If you want to see video of how many guys they called up, this is astounding. Go to my webpage, chuckholton.com. I put the video up over there. If I show it to you here, for some reason, the algorithm likes to demonetize the video. So like I can show you a map of, let's see if I have a map here. No, that's not it. There it is. I can show you a map of the northern border of Israel, and we can talk about that, and that shouldn't be a problem. They might not demonetize me for that one, but for some reason, if I show you the videos that are readily available out there, they tend to demonetize me. So you'll have to go over to my webpage and watch those. But while we're on this map, let's take a look here. You see the green up at the top is Lebanon. The green at the bottom is Jordan. The red on the right is Syria. And the kind of hash marked blue area along the border with Lebanon is the area that has been evacuated of Israeli residents. And there's about 80,000 people who are currently staying in hotels and have been for several months now because they can't live close to that border because of all the rockets that are coming across there. Now, Israel has been striking hard inside Lebanon over the last 2 days. They have been absolutely pounding Lebanon. I had a, let's see here. No, that's not it. I had another map that showed that from Live UA Mapper. You can go to Live UA Map and see it for yourself. I thought I had it up here. No, it's not up there. Well, anyway, this map will have to do. If you look at this map, what you'll see here is, again, that buffer zone where they've asked people to leave. Now, they're not forcing them to leave. So some people are still there. And I've driven all along inside that checkmark area. The area with the slashes to the right of the River Jordan. So if you look from the Sea of Galilee there at the bottom, that's Lake Tiberias. And the river goes north. River Jordan goes south out of there, but that river going north out of there. To the right of that is what they call the demilitarized zone. So there's a fence. If you drive up the east side of the Sea of Galilee, you can see there's a tiny little strip of land there. And you can drive up there and then drive right along that. There's a fence there. And about halfway up is the town of Quneitra. So that's kind of no man's land in there. And the only people in there are pretty much bad people. People that, like those Hashishabi, Iranian-backed militias from Iraq that have moved over there. But they just recently caught Jordan. Look, again, the green down in the bottom is Jordan. They just recently caught some smugglers trying to get weapons across the border from Syria into Jordan. Why would they do that? Why are they trying to get weapons into Jordan? Well, because they're trying to take them down and give them to guys in the West Bank. And Jordan stopped them. They actually conducted an airstrike on the smugglers right down there in that northern tip of Jordan and killed a bunch of smugglers that were bringing weapons in. Now, Jordan is I pointed this out in the other live I did, Jordan is a Palestinian kind of country. The queen of Jordan, Queen Aliyah, is Palestinian. They call themselves the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The Hashemites are the ones that wear the red and white checkered keffiyehs. The Palestinians wear the black and white checkered keffiyehs. But there are something like, I don't know, 1 million Palestinians or more inside Jordan, maybe 2 million. And that are, they say refugees there. But if the Palestinians wanted to go somewhere and have their own country, they could easily go to Jordan and they could pretty much call it their own country. I don't know what the king of Jordan would have to say about that, but it's more likely that they would have their own country in Jordan than it is that they're going to have all of Israel. I can promise you that. So without a doubt, Jordan does not want to get involved in this conflict. And we know that because they've stayed out of it virtually completely. They have made noises that, it's wrong what Israel is doing to Gaza and they need to stop, they need a ceasefire, but they have not allowed large groups of Palestinians that wanted to go from Jordan into the West Bank in order to protest to cross the border. The Jordanian police stopped them from crossing that border. And now we see the Jordanian police actually going kinetic against weapon smugglers coming out of Syria, trying to get weapons into the West Bank. That is a very good sign, folks. That's a very good sign. When, diehard Muslims, and, in Jordan, it's a pretty progressive Muslim country. I mean, women don't have to cover their hair, although it's still probably a good idea. Women at the hotel that I was at in Jordan a few days ago, or a week or so ago, there were women in bikinis that were swimming at the beach, but they were getting an awful lot of attention from the Jordanian men who were there. And I think, felt kind of uncomfortable about that. So you can easily say or see that although there are a lot of people in Jordan who undoubtedly support the Palestinians and support Hamas even, as a country, Jordan does not want to get involved in this fight. And they have a peace treaty with Israel. So I have been able to go back and forth in and out of Jordan 4 times in the last several months with no problems. Nobody threatened me. Everybody's very kind and as a matter of fact, I hate to say this, but Jordanians are much nicer people than, by and large, than Israelis are. And I'm probably going to get some flack for that. But in my experience, Jordanians their Bedouin, kind of background makes them unbelievably hospitable. And, Israelis tend to be kind of prickly. And I think once you get to know Israelis, they become every bit as hospitable as the Jordanians. But at first, because maybe they're surrounded by people who want to kill them, the Israelis tend to be a little hard-shelled, let's say. I'm not saying anything bad about Israel. I'm just saying what I've noticed. You go to Jordan and people are like, welcome, 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 welcome. They just can't welcome you enough to their country because they want you there and they want your money. Israelis don't need your money. And so in many cases, they don't really want you there unless they're working in the tourism business or something. So that's been my own, personal experience there, okay? I cannot blame them for that, again, because they're surrounded by people that want to kill them, and that would tend to make me a little prickly, without a doubt, right? And so there's that. Now let's go to some questions. Let's see here. And we'll take a few questions before we go. If you have a question, ask it now. Let's see. Thank you for the Merry Christmas wishes. If you want to see these things live, I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I always miss them live." What you can do is you can go to that subscribe button down there, and you have to do, it's a 2-step process if you want to be notified when we're going live. You have to hit the subscribe button, then you have to hit that little notification bell to the right of the subscribe button, and you have to check all notifications. And then when we schedule a live, I usually schedule them a half hour ahead of time. When I schedule a live, then you can get notified immediately once it's scheduled and be there and watch this thing live. So make sure you do that if you want to catch these things live. And somebody donated the 350 ZAR. I'm not sure what ZAR are, but thank you very much. It's very kind. Herman, tell me what country you're from, would you? ZAR, is that Zimbabwean something? What? Thanks for your honest information from Victoria, Australia. When the Nuffies type Free Palestine, I always follow up with yes from Hamas. Yes, that's good. I always just have to ask people, what do you mean? When you say Free Palestine, what do you mean? Canon Lens and Camera said, would you do a debate with Scott Ritter? Maybe. I don't know if it'd be worth it. I just, Scott Ritter is catering to people who want to hear what he is saying. But I'll just say that Scott Ritter doesn't go to the places that he portends to be an expert about. He does not get on the ground intelligence himself. And he has been consistently wrong on both Ukraine and Israel since the beginning of both of those conflicts. So there's that. And so has Colonel McGregor for the most part. Do you think that hostages are still alive? I don't know about the babies or the women, but I'm sure that there are some hostages still alive. They've actually shown videos of some of them recently. ZAR is South Africa? Okay. ZAR, is that? Oh, I thought they were rands. Anyway. Okay, from New York. I'm watching on my birthday. Happy birthday, Sun Star. I hope you're younger than I am. Okay, we got, please put your questions in all caps because it makes it a lot easier to go through here. Let's see here. Yeah, it was about 20 bucks. Okay. Thank you very much. I really hope that everybody has a Merry Christmas. We will probably take the next few days off over the weekend. I'll probably do one more podcast tomorrow, and then we'll take the weekend off through Christmas and increase my volume if I can. Well, let's see. How's that? I don't want to blow out if I'm watching my levels here, and I start to go too high if I increase the volume too much. There's usually two ways that you can increase the volume on a YouTube video. One way is through on your computer. You can increase the volume on your computer. And the second way is on the video itself. There's a volume thing that you can slide. And you can increase the volume that way. All right. Well, do you think that they are alive? I do think that the hostages are alive. They are very valuable to Hamas. Hamas has every reason to try to keep them alive. And unless they have died accidentally or something like that, there's no reason why Hamas would want to kill them. Okay. Is it true they're branding hostages? I've not heard anything about branding hostages. I think you have to be careful about information like that. I'm pretty sure I would have heard if they were branding hostages, but maybe I missed that one. If you've seen a news article about that, then please send it to me. One thing I do want to point out, I've been getting several people send me this news article lately about that Israel is using neutron bombs in Gaza. Have any of you seen that one? The hostage count is just a little over 130. They believe at least 20 of those are dead. It's like 131, I think, at this point. They have found some bodies, so it was 137. And the number of live hostages is probably around 110. something like that, based on the knowledge that the IDF has put out. So there's this rumor going around that Israel is using neutron bombs in Gaza to kill Gazan citizens. Well, go do a little bit of research on neutron bombs. First of all, the website that I found that I think is the patient zero, the source where this stuff was first put out, is a website that is known for being a repository for Russian propaganda, and has been used a lot during the war in Ukraine by Russian, propagandists to put out false information. So I wouldn't believe it specifically because of that. At least I would be very cautious about believing it. But secondly, it just doesn't make sense. There's no real reason for Israel to use a neutron bomb on the people in Gaza. There's no real reason for them to do it because of the, imagine if that actually got out and it was true, and there was proof that they're using neutron bombs in there, a nuclear bomb of sorts. And, what the international backlash would be against Israel. It would be so much, it would negate whatever benefits they might get from using the neutron bomb to begin with. So they're not using neutron bombs in Israel or in Gaza. Trust me on that one. What bomb is it that destroys humans but not the buildings without radiation? I think that is what they're talking about. Have you seen that Roman with Epic Times did a video on Armenia? Yes, a lot of people have been sending me these videos about what's going on in Armenia with 120,000 people being driven out of their homes in the Nagorno-Karabakh. These are ethnic Armenians. They're Christians. They're being driven out by Muslims out of their ancestral homeland and forced to go into Armenia proper. And they, so many people have been sending that to me. Have you seen this? And I'm like, I've been reporting on this. I was literally in Armenia reporting on this when October 7th happened. I've been reporting on this since the 2020 war between Azerbaijan and Armenia. I made a movie about that war and about Armenia that came out this last June and has won a dozen film awards. So yes, I am very familiar with what's going on in Artsakh, and I have been reporting on it a lot. And if you go back and do any, reading or look back through any of my videos on my YouTube channel, you'll see dozens and dozens of stories that I've done about this issue. And I am currently working on another documentary that will specifically, address that, right? Chuck, what's your goals for the next 5 years? Maybe running for office or state position? Dania, let me just say one thing. There are not enough Secret Service agents in the world to protect me from my wife if I ever run for office. And so, no, I'm not going to run for office. What film industry am I in? I've made 65 documentaries and a lot of news for the last 20 years. And M. Israel Chai, Iris Toro, very kind of you. I think nice of you to say that. When I first heard people saying that, I was thinking, these people's English is really bad. And yes, they do have chai in Israel. I don't know why they keep asking if Israel has chai. Look up Tommy Robinson's in the UK at Oxford University. Okay, I'll have to go look that up. Okay, if you have a link, email it to me, hotzoneholton@gmail.com, and I will take a look at it. If you'd like to get a hold of me there over on my email, feel free. Please don't call me. If you dig around the internet long enough, you might be able to find my phone number. And I've been getting a few calls from people. Yesterday, I got a call from somebody that said, oh, hey, I'm just driving through West Virginia, and I thought maybe I'd come to your house and hang out for a while. And I was like, dude, I don't know you from a bale of hay, man. You're not coming to my house. Besides, I got my family here. And I'm not trying to be impolite or anything, but yeah, how about we get to know each other remotely first? Then maybe you can come by my house next time. Or come on one of my trips. You want to get to know me? You can come travel with me. We got trips going. We have a trip coming up in October going to Israel and Jordan. And we will open up the signups for that. Listen to me. Listen to me. We will open up signups for the Israel trip in January. So you don't need to send me an email and ask me when I'm going to take signups for that, because I did this on yesterday, and I said that, like, I'm going to open it up in January. Had a bunch of people email me and say, when are you going to open it up? So what are my goals for the next 5 years? That sounds like a great thing for me to do on my own podcast and not on CBN's time. So go over to Hot Zone, the Hot Zone here on YouTube with Chuck Holton, and you can maybe hear me talk about my goals for the coming year. How long did you think the war in Israel will last? I think it will last a year or more. Yeah, watch my movie, Armenia, A Love Story. You can go to armeniamovie.com and you can get it there. If you want to see the movie about Armenia. How much does it cost to go on the Israel trip? It's going to be about $3,000 a person. I don't have the exact cost nailed down yet, but we're still working on that. So that will not include airfare. So you'd have to get yourself to Israel, and then it's $3,000 for the 10-day trip through Jordan and Israel, more or less $3,000. That just depends on how good of a deal I can get on things like hotels. No, my movie, Armenia, A Love Story, is not on YouTube. It is only on armeniamovie.com. Yeah. I know, look, my sound is up as high as I can get it right now because it is going to start over modulating if I make it any higher. So I'm sorry if you can't hear it. Let's see. Have I ever tried Earl Grey flambe? No, I have not. So I would meet you in Israel. Yeah, you can do that. Come meet me in Israel. When will the USA wake up and deal with Russia? That's a very good question, Cannon. Do you think other countries like Iran will attack Israel if Hamas falls? No, I don't. And I think that what we have seen in Jordan makes it pretty clear. What we've heard from Hassan Nasrallah, the commander of Hezbollah, is made it pretty clear. They don't really want to get involved. They are trying to lend moral support to Hamas, but they by firing a few rockets here and there, but they do not want to get yeah, they do not want to get fully kinetically involved with Israel. They just don't. That may still happen because Israel is, I think, prepping the battlefield to possibly go into Lebanon and take on Hezbollah directly. But yeah, they don't want to get involved, I don't think, any more than they already are. Somebody else said, let's see, how long the war will last. Yeah, I did that. I think it'll probably last at least a year. And Carla, thank you very much. I think we need to remind people that Israel is spelled I-S-R-A-E-L, not I-S-R-E-A-L. It's not Israel, it's Israel. Think of it that way, Israel, because about half the people who send me emails misspell the name of the country that they're asking me about. And so it's not any criticism. It's just a public service announcement that if you want to know how to correctly spell Israel, think Israel with an A. Can I find the shipwreck? I can't find the film, The Shipwreck of Paul. Okay, let me see if I can real quick put that up. I tell you what, I will put a link to The Shipwreck of Paul up on my my webpage, chuckholton.com, as soon as we get done here. I'll go find it, and I will put up the link to the Shipwreck of Paul. It's on Amazon, and you should be able to find it. And so I'll give you a link. Has Jordan sent light armor to the Israel border? No, I have not seen any armor lined up on the border with Israel. There is, of course, border police, military, along the border. And there are a lot of checkpoints that you go through as you drive north and south along the King's Highway in Jordan. But they're not, I don't think they are moving any military forces up to the border. Okay? Seaback, tell your mother thank you for watching CBN for decades. And Morton Bergstrom, thank you for whatever you said in Armenian there. If you want to know how hard it is to read Armenian, look at Morton Bergstrom's comment right there with the two hearts. It looks like unululu hulununululu, and it's one of the hardest languages on earth to learn, which is why I'm learning Russian and not Armenian, because I have a son and daughter-in-law who live in Armenia, and so we go there 3-4 times a year. And I know a few words in Armenian, but I can make myself understood in Russian if I have to, although they're going to probably hate me for it if I do. Okay, so that's about it for today, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Can Israel move all Gaza people to West Bank? Cannon, there's a reason why that would not be a great idea. Israel built this multi-billion-dollar wall between them and Gaza because of Hamas, because Hamas hated them so much and was so vehemently and militantly committed to killing Israelis that they needed that wall. They're not about to take the remnants of the Palestinians in Gaza and move them into the West Bank, which is inside Israel and does not have a wall. That would be a really bad thing to do as far as they're concerned. What I keep saying is, well, if they're going to move anybody, they ought to move just women and children, perhaps, into the West Bank. There are plenty of empty houses in the West Bank that have been built with American donor money, but they're not going to do that, of course. Israel is still, I think, in talks with Egypt to try to get Egypt to take Gazans across the border into Egypt, at least for a time, so that they can finish the job in Gaza. But Egypt does not want to do that for various reasons. One being they would be likely to stay. Two would be they would be likely to commit terror in Egypt. Three, Egyptians and Palestinians don't get along that well. And four, even though Egypt has a peace treaty with Israel, they don't want to do Israel any favors if they can get away with it. So they're going to push back on that, even though they have plenty of space in the Sinai, and they could move all the Palestinians over there if they wanted to. But is that a Freemason symbol on my shirt? No, I'm not a Freemason. This is the unit crest of the 75th Ranger Regiment, which is the unit that I spent 4 years in back 100 years ago when I was a young man, and much younger and faster and skinnier and maybe not quite as smart. So, yeah, there are Christians in Gaza, just not very many. And unfortunately, Israel is not going to differentiate between Christians or Muslims or secular people in Gaza. They're going to lump them all together. Okay, so that's it. Let's say a prayer and we will get out of here, and I'm going to go spend some time with my grandbabies. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to come and talk more about this issue, to get more well versed on the intricacies of the conflict. That's important for us, Lord, because there are so many people who are so ill-informed that have big platforms, and they're out there spewing misinformation and leading people astray. I pray that the people that are listening to this podcast would have the opportunity to set somebody straight about Israel and to help turn the tide of public opinion in Israel's favor. Father, I pray for the people in Israel that they would cry out to you and you would be their God. You would be so real to them and that they would have no option but to give you credit for what you're doing in their country, in them and in Gaza. I pray for the innocent people in Gaza, and I ask, Lord, that you would just put your loving arms around them, that you would protect them and get them to a safe place, that you would make the world more compassionate toward the situation in Israel and in Gaza, and in a way that they could actually find a real, tangible peace deal between Israel and the Palestinians, because we know Israel can't kill their way out of this. And so I just pray that they would find a way to love their way out of this. And I pray that there would be forgiveness on both sides, because only with forgiveness we know, Lord, can anything change, can hearts begin to change. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, folks, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you. And we'll be back again. Let's see, I'll probably do a quick hit the like button if you haven't already. I'll probably be back tomorrow morning sometime, and then we'll take the weekend off for Christmas. And if I don't see you before then, may all of you have a very, very Merry Christmas. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, why not? Why not? If you're not a Christian, why not? If you're not a Christian and you don't celebrate Christmas, you can celebrate Christmas anyway. And it's fun. It's great. It is a wonderful, wonderful time of the year. It's a time that we sit around and just spend time contemplating the love that God has for us, to send his son to be born, to live a sinless life, and to die in our place so that we can spend eternity with him. There's nothing better than that. So God bless y'all. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow, I hope. Bye-bye.